Welcome to Vital Signs, where we talk all things peak human performance, where we really want to emphasize our greatest asset, our health. I'm Jen Godet, your fearless host, and you are in for a treat. Don't look now, but we're going to talk about sex today. Yes, you heard it. I have brought an amazing expert in to have conversations with us today. She is an expert in all things urology, much more. I'll let her kind of go into it, but Dr. Christi Pramudji Dawe, I hope I said that right, is here with us, and I'm really excited that you're here. Welcome to the studio.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Jen. And don't worry about the name. It's a handful. I understand.
Listen, people get mine wrong all the time, so I understand too. But
it took me a while to get your name right, so no worries. Thank you, Jen, for having me.
True story. Sometimes I would have a teleprompter with the name spelled out so that I would do it right, but no, unfortunately.
Yeah. No worries. It's all good.
So you are a true expert in your space. You've got over 2 decades of experience. Tell the audience your area of expertise and what is it that you're really excited about right now before we dive into today's topic.
Sure. Well, I'm a urologist and a urogynecologist here in Houston, Texas. And as you mentioned, I've been in practice for over 20 years, and I've had my own private practice for 10 years now, 10 and a half. And focused very much on urological health, bladder, leaky bladders and fixing that, but also intimate health and sexual health, not necessarily STDs and that sort of sexual health, but really helping people have better sex that they love to enjoy, and how that impacts a long life. What can we do to help people live the longest life possible? And that's brought me into other fields such as metabolic optimization, hormone optimization, aesthetics, body composition, working on all that to really help people reach, as you said, their peak performance, elite health.
I love it. That was a mouthful. That's why I was like, let you say the words, because you are a tremendous force, a force to be reckoned with, folks. But today's topic is sex. We're going to talk about sex, and we're going to talk about it specifically with regards to women's health. We have had men's health experts on before, but one of the biggest topics of conversation in recent days, especially with women, is what does sexual health look like? And I hear things like sex is painful, it's not fun, it's not enjoyable, but a little birdie told me that it doesn't have to be. So shed some light on intimacy.
Sure, yeah. No, I love talking about this topic, and it is something that people don't know where to go to talk about it. They don't know who to talk to about it. And so in my own area, I like to provide a very safe, gentle, very comforting environment for people to come and talk about these issues. You're right. Women do have so many problems with sex, with either vaginal dryness after menopause, different painful syndromes in the pelvic area, problems with orgasm. And a big one is libido, low libido. That's huge. After we have children, hitting our 30s and 40s, the libido just drops off. So we do all kinds of therapies to help women get that back and get that desire to have sex, to be able to enjoy that part of their life and have fun.
And so let's dive deeper into that, because as a woman, we weren't allowed to talk about sex. Like, sex was a shameful topic in my household. It was kind of taboo. And through the years, through the different phases of life, I like to bring this up in conversation with friends, or like the topic is always, well, we just do it because it's what we have to do and we have no idea how to actually enjoy it. Yes. Can you give us a little enlightenment into how do we as women get to the point where we can have orgasms and regularly? Yeah. Because that's what should be the case. And what do we need to work on, or what do we need to know as women?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's a very loaded question. It's a very broad topic, but it is very important because it's interesting because women have, and we're going to talk very frankly here, so I hope your audience is ready, but the women have a very special organ. It's called the clitoris, right at the top above the vagina, above the urethra. and it is designed solely for pleasure. God put it there completely for pleasure during sex. And it has over 15,000 nerve endings, more than the penis does. And men don't even have an organ created like that. One of the big myths about sex that I think hinders a lot of women having orgasm is they think that you can have intercourse and you're just magically going to have an orgasm. That's what we see on TV and movies, right? But most women, the majority of women, do need clitoral stimulation, either directly or indirectly, manually, orally, a vibrator, whatever they need to be able to have an orgasm. And it's a process of getting to know your body, hopefully working with your husband that is very open and willing to learn and willing to get to know your body as you're getting to know your body. But finding out what's going to work for you and what feels good to you, what's going to help you be able to have better and more orgasms. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that can affect us from our childhood, like you said, whatever the attitudes were in our childhood household. There's medical conditions that can affect it, psychological, relational. It's a very complicated issue, but it can be solved. That's the bottom line, is it can be solved. And I think it should be solved because I think that we should be able to enjoy it. There's a big orgasm gap. Men have orgasm at least 80% of the time, and women it's about 20%. So we want to close that gap so that both the man and the woman are enjoying sex, having an orgasm. And I do want to point out that sex can and should be very pleasurable even without orgasm, and that we don't want to get so focused on we have to have an orgasm every time that puts so much pressure on it, and that's the only thing that we're going for, because there's so much more that's enjoyable about it.
Yeah, and so there's this piece that we've just discussed, and then there's the libido piece as well, because as women, as we get older, that libido tends to drop, and maybe we've never really figured out how to have pleasurable sex, so it has now a negative connotation, and we have a low libido. Talk to me about the role of hormones and you know, our health, our physiological health when it comes to sex, so that we can address that, because folks, a declining libido is not necessary. We can fix that. We live in 2025.
Yes.
So talk to us about how those interrelate and what can we do about it.
Yeah, so libido is in the brain. It's in the heart and in the brain, that desire to have sex. It's a natural drive that we have, especially when we're younger and we're of childbearing age. We have that drive to have sex so that we'll reproduce ourselves. That starts to really go down in our 30s and 40s, and it's often related to testosterone, actually. Women have, we have more testosterone circulating in our body, Jen, than estrogen on a deciliter by deciliter basis. Now, the balance is, of course, totally different between men and women, but we still have a lot of testosterone in our bodies. And when that goes down, it's a very slow decline. It's not like menopause. Menopause, the estrogen just drops off. We feel it. We get the hot flashes. We feel terrible. The testosterone's a slower decline, and before we know it, we're just like, I don't want to have sex. That's the last thing on my mind. Well, testosterone therapy is now used quite broadly in women, and it is very safe. It's been studied for decades. It's very effective, and not only does it solve that problem, it also helps us to age optimally. It is very good for aging, for the brain, the bones, the heart, the skin, all of that, the muscles. You know, muscle mass is one of the most important things for aging because it helps our metabolism. So testosterone is really good for libido. But not just that, if someone didn't want to do testosterone, there are some prescriptions available to help boost libido, and they work on the neurotransmitters in the brain. There's a pill that you can take every night, and there's an injection that you can use on demand that will increase that sex drive and give you that sense like, oh, I do want to have sex again. It's not just a chore.
Oh, what a wonderful thing.
Yes.
It's amazing what has advanced over the years. And so we do have to take a brief break, but I just want to kind of recap for you. If you're watching this, we don't have to live in a state where our sex drive goes down and just think that, oh, that's normal aging, because it's not. There are things that we can do so that we can continue to enjoy that aspect of our life, and sexual health is a very important part of our life. We will be right back after these messages where we dive deep into hormones and metabolic health, because we're here about peak performance, so stick around.